going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. How is everybody doing? You know what I really enjoy? I really enjoy, like, if it's like a couple minutes later than the original plan, it's just immediately now known as a KG. I love it. I absolutely love it that's what it's called now. It's absolutely a KG. Let's blame him. Let's blame him. We'll continue to blame. That's all we'll do. If there's ever any issue, so it's KG's fault. It's KG's fault. But how is everybody doing? Hope you're all doing very well. Smash a like on the video, as we like to say. Come into our house, settle down, put your feet up, relax. It's Friday. Enjoy yourself. Happy Friday, But smash a like on the video. Take your shoes off. Let's not make a mess of the house while we're here. So hope everyone is doing very well. Let me know, as always, as well, where you're watching from today, whether it even is Friday. I mean, I'm saying Friday. It might not be where you're watching from, right? It could be a completely different day at this point. That's how the world works, isn't it? So let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what your plans are for Friday as well. See, look, I can see it here. Owen doing a KG, says Shaq. Nikki says, can't find his pen. I do have my pen. Of course, Nick. Come on. You know me better than that by now. It's always here. That's how you know when I'm getting really serious. When I'm getting really serious is when I get the pen out. I'll start, flailing my arms like Flex on Sky Sports News. That's what I'll do. Abjahit says, happy birthday, Mr. Owen. Well, Mr. Kewen. But thank you. I was yesterday. Yes, it was yesterday. So thank you very much. I got a ton of birthday messages yesterday on social media, and today some belated messages. So I really do appreciate it. I never knew people cared so much. So I really appreciate everyone that said happy birthday in the last 24 hours or so. We can see in the chats we've got Imin from Berlin, Germany. We've got Sifo from sunny South Africa. And David from sunny North London. Sunny everywhere. G says, Heritage Day here in South Africa. Public holiday vibes. Well, I hope you have a great day. VK says, happy belated birthday. Appreciate that, VK. Soup says, Brazil. Daniel says, Dublin. We've got Nitish from Australia. Got Thomas Lamb from Croatia. We're all over the place today. Look at this global audience that we have here on United View. It's amazing. What a great community we have here today. So I actually got to be relatively... I can't make sure I've gone on tangents. I'm the worst tangent person ever. I'm technically going on one right now, but there is a ton to get to. We've got press conference, which ended about an hour or so ago, which had a ton of information in, and a swipe at Jurgen Klopp for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That's interesting. We've got the match preview, as you can see on the thumbnail, and we've got some Declan Rice news when it comes to Manchester United as well. So we've got so much to cram into today. So I'm going to get to the quotes. I'm going to get to the press conference that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did. Of course, we've got Aston Villa tomorrow at lunchtime, and I'm going to get into why that's at lunchtime as well, because I see some people being a bit like, what's going on there? So you'll be glad to know, last time I did the press conference, I said to myself that I should have got the names of the journalists that asked the questions, because if it's a good question, I want to shout them out. If it's a bad question, I want to hold them to account. And guess what? I did it. That's what we always have for United View. Constant improvement, constant development. And that's what I did this week. So the first question was from Hugh Ferris. I actually have a name. I can say this. So he asked about David De Gea after the West Ham penalty save, of course, last weekend. Spoke about how De Gea obviously had some time out of the team last year. How did that help him? How did he react to that? Was that Ollie's intention to leave him out of the team and see if he could get a reaction, see if he would start playing better? This is what Ollie had to say. He, De Gea, did call me in the summer to end his summer holiday earlier and come back and start his pre-season before. He wanted to be ready, the best possible version of himself. David has worked really hard, focused physically and mentally. He's better. And when you feel you've done the work, personal best, a few physical tests, it gives you more confidence and motivation. He plays behind a strong back four, but to play in front of David when he's in this form is good for them too. So that's really interesting, isn't it? That De Gea, he's up for the challenge. He's definitely up for the challenge. None of this... There was a lot of discussion, wasn't there, about the goalkeeper situation last year, rightfully so. I think United really put themselves in a really difficult situation. And let's face it, they would still be in this really difficult situation when it comes to goalkeepers had De Gea not started the season so well, and if Henderson didn't contract COVID in pre-season, there would have been this decision to make once again. And Ollie, I'm glad that Henderson's well, but he was almost fortunate in the sense that the decision was kind of made for him that De Gea was going to start the season. And now that De Gea has started so well, it's not even really a conversation point at this point, is it? It's just a case of De Gea's playing really, really well. And that must be said, I don't think Henderson was bad in midweek against West Ham whatsoever. If anything, kept us in the game towards the end, made some good saves, but you can't drop David De Gea at this point. You can't. It does feel like, even without the penalty save, let's be honest here, even without the penalty save, he's been making good saves. The save he made against, was it Wolves? That just reaction save, double save, was world class. It's a world class save. And he feels like, he's back to, I guess, what we would call his best. I mean, his standards are so high. That's the thing, isn't it? His standards are so high that it's almost like anything below that, which would be just a keeper playing well, is considered a drop in form for David De Gea. That's the point. But I really did enjoy hearing Ollie say that, no, De Gea called me over the summer and was like, I want to come back early. I want to start training earlier. I want to get ready for the season. And like Ollie mentioned in his answer, which I think is good, that when physically you feel better and you go, right, I've prepared the best way possible this season, that does translate into games. So credit David De Gea, massive credit to him, because he realized that what he was doing before wasn't enough. And maybe from a Manchester United point of view, a recruitment point of view, an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer point of view, they'll be like, well, that's why we have two really strong goalkeepers at the club, because De Gea realizes that in the past, he's going to play regardless of the effort that he puts in at training or not. Whereas now, the reality is there that if he doesn't really put in the work, or he does get complacent, not that I ever think David De Gea really has ever, he doesn't really seem the type to get complacent or anything like that. But if David De Gea had got complacent in the past, he would realise now, I can't do that anymore, because there is someone that the manager isn't afraid to play. So I suppose it seems like a really good reaction, doesn't it, from David De Gea, which is great to see. And he's, for me, at this point, as the number one, he's pretty untouchable. The discussion, I think, at this point has to be, what does Dean Henderson do? Because he doesn't want to be sitting on the bench for the majority of the season. But if De Gea keeps up this form, that's just going to happen. That's just going to happen. Like I said, Henderson played fine in the week, but you can't drop David De Gea at the moment. It's just not a case. And especially when you go out of a cup competition like you did in the week as well. So Henderson's game time will be even more reduced. Paul says, David De Gea in. Simple. There you go. Simple as that. I think it's not even really a talking point at this point, is it? That's the thing. Now, he was also asked in a follow-up question from Hugh, Dean Smith has spoke about his excitement of facing Ronaldo this season. He said, is this going to be a pattern? Teams that are desperate to stop Ronaldo, how do you overcome that? Which, again, to be honest, Hugh is a bit of a weak one. And Ollie said that Cristiano is used to it. He's been used to it for the last 15 years of his career. He said the first few years of Ronaldo's career, everyone wanted to kick him. Then he became a top player that everyone has an eye on him. They have their certain plans to face him, all that kind of stuff. He said that Ronaldo's ready for that challenge. He's used to it. There's no worries whatsoever. We're a team, though, more than just Ronaldo. Players will also enjoy it, though, because whilst the opposition is focusing on Cristiano Ronaldo, it will open up space for other players to play. So I don't really know what to say about that one. Just, of course, every team's going to be excited to play Cristiano Ronaldo, because you would hope that they want to challenge themselves and they want to play against the best. I do think it's something we almost haven't really considered as Manchester United fans with Ronaldo's return to the club, isn't it? That whilst we think, great, Ronaldo's coming back, a world-class player, one of the best players ever, arguably the best player ever, but it's just a boost for the Premier League in general, isn't it? It's a boost for opposition teams because they want to play against Cristiano Ronaldo. They want to say, when their career's said and done, they want to sit down their grandkids and tell them a story, like in, what's that film called? It's the one where it's got like Andre the Giant in, and it's in a fairy tale. What's that called? I can't remember. You can let me know in the live chat if you know what I'm on about. But that one's where he sat in bed and there's like his grandpa's reading him a book. It'd be like that for a professional footballer. And they'll say, I tell you what, one day I played against Cristiano Ronaldo. We lost 3-0 and he absolutely ran rings around me. But they want that experience. And I think we haven't really thought about that much. Oh, here we go. I was in a good mood. Today. Zaid Miasi's in with just a rolling around emoji. I mean, this is the thing, Zane. Like, I mean, are you rolling around because Manchester United went out of the Carabao Cup? Or are you rolling around looking at the table with Arsenal? Back-to-back victories. He thinks he's going to win the Champions League. I don't have the button, but do me a favour, Zane. Unbelievable. I'm getting lots of Princess Brides. Yes, Sean was first. The Princess Bride. That's the one I'm thinking about. It's a great film, isn't it? Really good film. What a classic. What a classic. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, I was talking about Princess Bride, and then Zane distracted me. This is why I said I can't be distracted today, but I'm already scatterbrain. Yes, Nikki. Nikki says, rolling around in the mud. Absolutely. Like a pig in poo. Let's move on. Next question was from Simon Stone, asked about Edison Cavani and his fitness. I think a lot of people expect maybe Cavani to be involved in the week. Of course, wasn't involved last weekend against West Ham. Ollie said before the game last weekend that Cavani wasn't going to be involved, but he would return to training this week, possibly to be involved on Wednesday. Didn't happen. We could have used Cavani, certainly, at Old Trafford in the week in the Carabao Cup, but Solskjaer did confirm that Cavani will be in the squad tomorrow. This is what Solskjaer said. He said, quote, he's in the squad tomorrow. He's been training and now feels ready to contribute. He came on against Wolverhampton. Then he got a slight strain in the international break when we had a game, and he's ready again. Edison has joined in training fully after that game on Wednesday, and he's held his hand up and he is ready. He then said last season as well, he didn't have a pre-season when he came here. He's so professional and meticulous, and of course we're glad to now have him back training with us and the squad. So Cavani will be in the squad tomorrow. As to will he start? I think that's unlikely because Ronaldo, well, I just don't think that's going to happen because I think Ronaldo is going to be starting up front. It's interesting though, isn't it? Because it's the first match day squad that's going to have Cavani and Ronaldo in it. And he did kind of touch on this. Solskjaer in the press conference and spoke about them possibly having some kind of relationship in the future on the pitch. And I really don't know how that would work. Really don't know, considering the way that Ollie plays, because I know that, I think DJ said it on the channel a couple of times, Cavani did play out on the left for PSG, which is true, but at the age of 34, I'm not sure that's really probably the best option for him. He's a striker. He's kind of the same as Ronaldo. How that would work, I don't know. If anything, it's quite like for like now. But it's going to be the first squad that has Cavani and Ronaldo in it, which is exciting. It's options that if something does go wrong, we can put Cavani on, and he scores goals. Even at this stage in his career, he scores goals. He was vital to us last season, wasn't he? Absolutely vital. So great to see Cavani back. And he might be involved, I think maybe more importantly, in the week when we absolutely need a result against Villarreal. So Cavani will be in the squad tomorrow. I would assume he's probably going to be on the bench. I would assume he's going to start on the bench, but we'll have to wait and see about that. He was also asked in a follow-up by Simon Stone, this is an interesting one, about the clubs, of course. I don't know if you've seen this story, that clubs are allowed to trial standing fans at the ground from the 1st of January next year. He was asked then, do you hope this happens? Are United, do they have plans in place to trial this safe standing area for fans at the club? Solskjaer said the club is supportive. They want to trial that as long as safety, of course, is in place. He said standing, in his opinion, gives atmosphere. You stand up when you're more passionate and emotional, and he's looking forward to trialing it. I'm looking forward to trialing it. I think that if you've ever been to a Manchester United away game, you'll know the fans don't sit down at all. One of my favourite games I've ever been to live was an FA Cup semi-final whenever we last won the FA Cup 2015. Was that 2016 at that point? Well, yeah, technically it was 2016. 2015 to 2016. I went to an FA Cup semi-final, the one at Wembley, when we beat Everton. I went to that, and you stand up the whole game, and it's just tremendous, and there is an atmosphere there. Now, obviously, the issue is safety, and that's paramount to everyone, because we've learnt from this. If we were implemented standing sections again, and it was just as dangerous as it was before, it has no place in football, because nobody should ever go to a football game and then never come back. That's just the flat out, that's what it is. But if you can implement that in certain sections of the ground in a safe manner, then it will add to the atmosphere. Sometimes Old Trafford gets criticised, don't they? That it doesn't have maybe a great atmosphere or whatever in certain games. Not in every game, obviously. You look at the game against Newcastle a couple of weeks ago with Ronaldo's return. That had a fantastic atmosphere, but sometimes it happens. If they could implement that in a safe way, I'm interested to see how they would do it, and obviously interested to see how it would work when it comes to the atmosphere of the ground. So I know a lot of people that consider themselves die-hard fans would love to be in the standing section. I'm not sure how you could sit in the standing section. You'd probably get kicked out if you did that. But certainly that would be interesting. Now, this is the one that I really enjoyed. I think everyone did. I think everyone enjoyed this. This was from Keith Downey, who asked about the Ronaldo penalty instance. Of course, last weekend against West Ham, we should have had, at least two penalties. Definitely one. The first one rather was, I think, a bit debatable, but the second one is there's no debate about it. It just gets completely sliced in half by Zuma, did Ronaldo. And then, of course, in the week, you had Jesse Lingard, who got pulled to the floor by Mark Numble. I think if VAR was implemented in that game, I think we get a penalty, and then the game changes. Shouldn't just be enough that we're relying on penalties to beat West Ham at Old Trafford, but it does change the game. So Ollie was asked about this. He was asked about the penalty incidents, specifically the Ronaldo ones last weekend. He said, are you worried about referees not giving penalties for Ronaldo because they're assuming that Ronaldo's just looking for him? He's going to go over so easily. And this is what Ollie had to say, and he threw some shade at Jurgen Klopp, which I enjoyed. He said, we just have to hope we get what we deserve. We should have had 3 penalties in the last 2 games. There was a certain manager, he means Jurgen Klopp, who was worried about us getting pens last year, and after that, the decisions were different to give. So that's certainly very, very interesting. He said that basically, since Klopp went on his moan last year, that suddenly the decisions to give, actually for United to be given penalties are difficult to give. And he said there's been a big difference since then. He said, I'll leave it up to the officials and I hope that they get it right. Now, first of all, what I will say with that is I really don't know if the stats back that up. Someone will prove that or disprove that in the next few hours or so, because they'll say, wow, since Jurgen Klopp said this, Liverpool got such and such penalties. Or since Jurgen Klopp said this, Manchester United got such and such penalties. In comparison to before, it will be a reduction or an improvement of certain percent. Someone will prove this. But I remember when Klopp said that last year, and it was very frustrating because from my point of view, it was just Jurgen Klopp being just this bitter shit, basically. It was one of those things. Jurgen Klopp's just, he's terrible for this. This is what I just think is the falsehood about Jurgen Klopp is there is no doubt. Jurgen Klopp, one of the best coaches in the league, one of the best managers in the world. I'm not taking that away from him. But the guy is such a moaner. If things aren't going his way, some of the excuses, and I know this is Rich coming from a United fan. We had Sir Alex for years, who was never anyone's fault, right? Never our fault. But like Klopp, he said things like the grass was too long, it was windy, it was raining, this, and this. And last year, there was a period of time Liverpool weren't doing well. So suddenly that can't be Liverpool's fault. That can't be the players' fault. That can't be Jurgen Klopp's fault. That is completely irrational. Man United getting too many penalties. Like, what? What are you on about? I know he's had, I think, like laser eye surgery, but I asked to get it checked at the time. Maybe that's why. Because he went, I tell you what, I'm not looking at this properly. Get my eyes fixed. Because it was just irrelevant. It was absolutely irrelevant what he was on about last year. And again, I don't know of what effect it's had on us getting penalties since then, but he knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing when he's saying that. He's putting pressure on the referees. He's putting pressure on the referees to ensure don't give Man United penalties, because it's human nature. Because it's something that will just gnaw in the back of their heads. They might not even think it. The referees will go, well, I'm not paying any attention to that, but they would have heard it. And next time someone goes down in the box as a Manchester United player, go, well, maybe they are getting penalties too much, and maybe they are trying to buy them, and this and that. He knows exactly what he's doing. Exactly what he's doing. And I think when it comes to that is, I know that managers say, oh, I can't say anything, or I can't criticize referees because I'll get fined or I'll get banned and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think you can criticize or you can praise referees' performances. But stuff like that, in my opinion, is just trying to alter the game in the future, or trying to alter results in the future. He's putting an element of doubt in the referees' minds. And it shouldn't come to that, but he knows exactly what he's doing. And again, it might be Rich coming from a Manchester United fan, because Fergie used to do it for years and years and years. So I do appreciate that, but I just think it's ludicrous. I just think it's ludicrous. And good for Ollie fighting back, saying, shut up, basically. He was then asked a question about the Ryder Cup, which Ollie just kind of said, I don't know why you would ask that. And this is the thing that I don't get with some journalists in these press conferences. I understand that they might do it because they want it to go into like other coverage on like Sky. I think Keith Downey, he's a Sky reporter, isn't he? But like those questions that you get to ask managers are gold dust, right? They're absolute gold dust. Channels like this, we would love to ask Ole Gunnar Solskjaer proper questions, or fans would love to ask Ole Gunnar Solskjaer questions about like tactics, or do you feel like you have the ability to win a trophy? Or those people that actually have proper gripes, not asking about the pissing Ryder Cup. Just, oh, God, it's just it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Jose says, all love from Longview, Texas. Come on, United. Appreciate that, Jose. Is it Jose? Jose? How would you say that one? Because I know, like Jose Mourinho, it's a hard J. Sometimes it's a soft J. Robert says, we only had one penalty more than Liverpool at the time and less than Leicester. Yeah, that's what I mean. I remember like that. We were talking like there was no difference. It was just Klopp being a moaner. That's what he is. There's this like perception that he's such a nice guy manager, Jurgen Klopp. Oh, gets his arm round the players, high five, yeah. But he's such a moaner all the time. I remember the one we lost. I think they lost to Wolves or whatever. And he went, oh, it was windy today. Oh, really? I didn't realise that. Did you realise where you are? I think it was in Wolverhampton. You're in the Midlands. It's windy there. You're in England. Because I'm going to get moany in the winter that it rains. Happens a lot here. It's such a ridiculous comment to make. Next question was from Damien Spellman. Asked Ollie, has Cristiano Ronaldo already made himself indispensable with his recent form? Ollie said, quote, we knew he was going to have a great impact on and off the pitch. Cristiano is still so professional. The discipline he showed throughout his career to make the most of it has rubbed off on his teammates. He's been absolutely top. Work rate, attitude in the game, communications. He knows he's not going to play every game, but it's a good chat to have with me when he won't be ready. Which I thought was interesting because he basically says, look, Ronaldo isn't going to play every game. The evidence was there in the week. I saw some people... and I saw it on a couple of the fan views. I certainly saw it on social media. And this is just my opinion, and people that have this opinion, that have the opposite opinion to this, that's fine. That's good for them. Good for them. That I saw some people that were like, why didn't Ronaldo start in the week? Why didn't Ronaldo play against West Ham? And it's those kind of situations. And I'm not being like, oh, you're such an Ollie defender, all this kind of stuff. But it's those kind of things that, like, if you played Cristiano Ronaldo, even for 45 minutes in the week, and then tomorrow, either he gets injured or we lose or he has a bad game, people go, why on earth did you play him in the Carabao Cup? Why did you play him in the Carabao Cup? And it's that kind of stuff when you say he just can't win. He can't win with that kind of stuff, can he? Cristiano Ronaldo, he shouldn't be playing in the Carabao Cup third round because that team we played on in the week, Wednesday night, that's more than good enough. It should have been more than good enough to beat West Ham. We didn't need Cristiano Ronaldo to win that game. That team on the pitch should have been more than good enough. And it's up to the players and the manager, everyone, that we didn't win that game. It wasn't good enough. But again, you have to... We have on in the first, 18 months that Ollie was there as well. We used to get this all the time, right? Ollie always picks the same team. Why doesn't he rotate? And then he did rotate. And then you go, I tell you what, why didn't he pick the other players? It's that kind of stuff where you just go, you can't win. And look, that's the pressure of being Manchester United manager, of course. He was also asked from Damien about Cavani and the extra experience. This is when I mentioned that he said about possibly Cavani and Ronaldo playing together. He said, it's exciting to see these two together. I'm sure that'll be a good partnership as well. We see teams dropping deep against us, not giving space in behind, and they're two boys you'd like to see in that scenario. So basically, Ollie's saying if a team does play a low block, we might see Cavani and Ronaldo playing together. I would be really surprised at some point this season if we saw Cavani and Ronaldo start together in, I guess, a front two or a part of a front three. I don't know how that would work. It would mean Ollie would have to. It would mean that Ollie would have to change the way he plays, change his system. I don't know if I see that happening anytime soon. I think what he's talking about is if someone's playing a low block against us, either we're 1-0 down or it's 0-0. I'll make sure that Cavani and Ronaldo are playing together and we kind of go hell for leather and everyone's on the pitch at the same time. Again, I don't know what system that would be. I don't know what system that would be, whether that is a traditional 4-4-2, whether that's a diamond with your width then coming from your fullbacks in Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka or Dalot. It's interesting. It's an interesting one. You could possibly see like a diamond, I guess, in that your defensive midfielder would be... I don't want to say Fred. That's when your Matic would just be perfect. You've got Pogba and your McTominay, maybe. And then your attacking midfielder is Bruno Fernandes. And then your two is Cavani and Ronaldo. The problem is you got Sancho, Rashford, whoever, all those Greenwood, Martial, those wide players that Ollie likes to have don't fit into a diamond. which is it's an interesting dilemma. So he could go to, I guess, like a back five, so like a three, and have these wide players as wing backs. I don't know. It certainly would be a dilemma, but I don't see him changing that anytime soon. I must say that. Michael Gray asked him, you started the Premier League well. How would you assess it so far? Ollie said it's early doors, the important first 2 months, that you don't give teams a head start. He said 13 points is a decent return, scored a few goals, still things to work on, bigger challenges ahead, which is true. We have had a quite a good start, a run of games, certainly. We've got a lot of big teams to come. He said, laid a bit of a foundation to build momentum. Villa hit form after their first defeat in the first game, and arguably they deserve more points than they currently have. We'll talk about Villa in the preview in a second. Final question was from Per Carlson, who of course has done an interview with Flex here on the channel, so be sure to check that out. Big up to Per. He asked, I think, arguably the best question of the press conference, and it's questions that managers don't like, and that's what I think press conferences should be. It shouldn't be layups. Sometimes journalists, in my opinion, they ask questions that are easy questions because they want access. They want access to the club, they want access to the manager, to the players, and they want to be held in the good graces, because if they ask too difficult questions, maybe they won't come back. And I think Per asked the best question. He said, look, you've only had 1 clean sheet in your last 15 competitive games, conceded 22 goals. Is that a concern? How are you going to overcome that? And Ollie got prickly, which he does. He said, it shows the angle that you're looking for. I've got the actual quote in front of me. He said, quote, it just shows the angle that you're looking at and thinking. He said, I'd rather score 4 or 5 or 2 and concede 1 than we win 1-0. We're still working on the cohesion with Rafael coming in. We want to have clean sheets and build performances from as well. We know we're going to score goals, which I thought was funny because obviously the response to that would be, well, you didn't in the week, but okay. We know we're going to score goals. Hopefully I can answer at the weekend with a clean sheet, but it's being worked on, of course. So it's a good question, why are you conceding so many goals? And it goes back to last season. Why are you going 1-0 down all the time? And it is a problem. It is a problem. Why are we conceding goals? We did obviously have the clean sheet against Wolves, but it's still a problem, certainly. And I get what Ollie's saying, and I think from a fan's point of view, if you are winning games 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, you tend not to really care, because as a Manchester United fan, people like to talk about the United way and United DNA, and this is the way we should play, this is the way we should set up against sides, etc., etc., is that we'll just score more goals than you. Whether it is 5-2 or 5-3 or 4-1 or 4-2, we want entertainment. And I think that's the interesting thing. This is the interesting discourse I've seen on social media over the last couple of days or so after that defeat in the week and after the Young Boys game that we lost, is some people have been saying Zidane. People go, oh, we should get Zidane in. And I find that quite humorous, because if you've watched Zidane sides play, they're incredibly pragmatic. In that they'll win games 1-0 or they'll win games 2-1. Now, obviously, the counterpoint to that is that he wins things. And I think that's the case. It's like the Mourinho style of playing. If you're winning things, if you're winning games and you're winning trophies, you don't really tend to care that you win games 1-0 and you play defensively and you do this and you do that. The problem is with that style of play is that it's when you're not winning things. That's what cost Jose his job ultimately. Like when he went to Liverpool and played like a back 8 and then you lose the game anyway, it's like, who cares? That was the criticism of Ollie against Young Boys. You played defensively and then you lost the game. So it was tough to watch and you lost. So I think it's an interesting kind of debate when it comes to being pragmatic, stopping goals going in, or would you prefer to be a bit open and scoring goals? I think ultimately it comes down to winning things and winning games. And I think that's, like I've said before, I think that's where Ollie will be judged, in my opinion. So I think it's interesting. I think it's certainly interesting. We'll move on, though. We'll talk about the match preview, because, again, there is so much to get into. We've got the match preview, and I've got some Declan Rice stuff to talk about as well. Interesting. Some people say, like Spec says, Zidane doesn't play defensive. He's possession. Well, I think it's interesting, because I think if you speak to a few Real Madrid fans, they don't care, because they won 3 Champions Leagues in a row and they won league titles. So again, you can play that style. If it gets you results, it gets you results. But I think the frustrating thing is when you play that style and you don't win games. That was the problem with Mourinho. That was the problem with Mourinho. That's why I find it funny when people say, get Simeone into Old Trafford. It's like, well, you're not going to like that style. And again, that style is fine if you win things. But the moment that stuff starts to turn and you don't win games, people will start to criticize again. And I think that's not really coming from a point of defending Ollie. That's coming from a point of, I just think, you have to almost be like, be careful what you wish for kind of situation, right? Nevertheless, let's move on. Let's talk about the match preview. Obviously, Manchester United have to bounce back from midweek. There were 11 changes in midweek. I wouldn't be surprised if there are 11 changes tomorrow as well. I mean, realistically, I'd love to know this in the live chat. You can let me know in the live chat. By the way, we're on 83 likes with over 300 people watching. So let's see if we can get it to 100 likes on the video. So that's only 17 more likes to go. So smash a like on the video. Obviously, 11 changes were made in the week for that Carabao Cup game. Do you think, let me know in the live chat, do you think that we will see anyone that played in midweek, do you think any of them will start tomorrow? Or will we see literally 11 changes once again? I think that's the interesting thing. Medline says it's an interesting one when it comes to the press conference. The questions are asked are so rubbish. They're not really asking the main questions that the fans want to hear. So easy for Ollie. It's easy for him, for him as a manager. Crap. I do think that there is a certain political game that goes on with those press conferences, certainly. But yes, going back to the match preview, will anyone start that played on Wednesday? I think no. I don't think so. And it's a really important game for Ollie because there's noise. There's certainly noise right now, isn't there? There's murmurs. There's people in the fan base that don't rate Ollie as a manager. There are people that are Ollie out, and they've been Ollie out for a while. But they're kind of waiting, I suppose, to be proved right in the sense of they don't think he can win something. They don't think he can take Manchester United on to success this year. He's had his time. He's had a significant amount of time. And they're yet to see the improvement, right? And I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong or not. I think everyone's allowed to have their opinion. And every opinion's valid. You know, everyone's got them. So I think that's what's great about the community here on United View. So there's obviously noise that people don't have faith in Ollie. For me, I think that noise is maybe a little bit too early. I can certainly understand people's point of views, and I think some people that raise these points are quite valid. I think sometimes they are quite valid, but again, my position always has and always will, unless something goes really dramatically wrong, is that at the end of the season, Ollie will be judged, and I think that's what we'll have to stick to. But of course, my point being here is that if he does lose tomorrow, there will be a lot more noise. A lot more noise. Make no mistake, there are 2 games in the space of a few days that are massive for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Obviously, you've got the Villa game tomorrow, and then you've got the Villarreal game. If he goes back-to-back losses, there will be a lot of noise, a significant amount of noise. And those people that obviously don't think that Ollie is good enough will probably be joined by some people that were trying to, or willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, or willing to give him time. Because it just goes to show how much things can change so quickly. 2 losses over the next 2 games. I want to say he's in trouble, but there'll be a lot of noise and a significant amount of pressure. And the next time he has a press conference, maybe the questions won't be so kind. Because there will be massive pressure. And it does go to show how much can and maybe will change in such a short period. So the team that played against West Ham last weekend. Do we think that that's going to be the same team that plays tomorrow? So that would be De Gea in goal, Luke Shaw left back, Maguire and Varane, Wan-Bissaka, Fred and McTominay, and then Greenwood on the right, Bruno in the middle, Pogba on the left with Ronaldo up front. I think it's very likely we see the same team. I do think it's very likely we see the same team that we saw against West Ham. The argument could be made, how well did we play against West Ham last weekend? I think we played okay in parts, but I look at that side that played last weekend, and I just don't see where Ollie would change it. And that's not necessarily the team, that's the team that I would play, but I just don't see, trying to get into Ollie's mind, into Ollie's headspace, I don't see where he would make that change. Now, obviously, there is possibility for rotation tomorrow because we have the game in the week in the Champions League. Considering that we have Villarreal on Wednesday, which we have to win, which is a massive game, maybe Ollie will decide, you know what, I'm going to have to rotate some players in because I want to keep players fresh for Wednesday because that's arguably the bigger game. So maybe we could see Sancho start. I think, for me, you know, if we're going to say Ronaldo is up front, which he is, then that position on the right, for me, it's Greenwood. Right now, if it's Greenwood or Sancho, and you say you've got to only play one on the right, it's Greenwood every single day. And it's not a slight on Sancho. I've seen a lot of people critical of Sancho. What has he done so far? Not a lot. Not a lot. And make no mistake, if we hadn't have signed Ronaldo in the summer, there would be a lot of pressure on him right now. A real significant amount of pressure would be on Jadon Sancho right now, because a lot of people would be saying, well, 75 million, where's this coming from? Obviously, he's 21. There is going to be some time that it takes to adjust and adapt. Thankfully, again, Ronaldo came, which takes the pressure off him. Thankfully, as well, we have options. It's not a case of we've only got Jadon Sancho we can play on the right. It's him or nobody else. We do have options there. So I think Sancho will probably be on the bench. To be honest with you, I think Greenwood would start on the right-hand side. Cavani, as I mentioned, will probably start on the bench, considering he's just coming back from injury. And if you're going to just play one striker, it's going to be Ronaldo. It's not going to be Cavani. Donny van de Beek, look, I think he played well in the week. I think he did play well. I think a lot of people said, you know what, one of the positives coming out of that defeat against West Ham was that Donny played pretty well. But he's not playing tomorrow. We know he's not playing tomorrow. It's not happening. Whilst people can call for it, and people can hope it, I would hope that Donny van de Beek played tomorrow, and it was, that two behind the attacking three midfielders was, say, Matic and Donny. It ain't happening. It's going to be McFred, because that's what Ollie goes to. In those big games where he feels like, look, I can't slip up here, he'll go to McFred. The only thing that I think that maybe could change his mind slightly about McFred tomorrow is looking forward to the game on Wednesday, which he knows he can't lose, and he can't afford to slip up, because we've already slipped up in the Champions League so far. And even if we drew Villarreal, there would be a ton of pressure on him. So you have to win on Wednesday night. And maybe he'll be thinking that, McTominay's just come back from surgery. Do I really want him to play 2 games in such a short period of time, and whilst he's on his recovery? So maybe we might see Fred and... I just can't see Donny. Maybe it would be Fred and Matic, but then Matic played in the week as well. And the general sort of consensus with Matic is he can only play one game over the course of 7 days. So if he plays tomorrow, he wouldn't play against Villarreal on Wednesday. So I think we'll probably see McFred, but there is a possibility for rotation there. As far as that front three, like I said, I think it will still be Greenwood, Bruno, and Pogba, I think, unless, again, he wants to move Pogba back into midfield. But Ollie likes to play him out on the left, and arguably he's had his best games recently on the left for us. I don't know what that says about, Anthony Martial. I think Martial will be on the bench again, and I would be very surprised if he came on. He really didn't light it up in the week. Didn't come off the bench against West Ham at the London Stadium last weekend, and I don't think there was any reason to. So I think Pogba will start out on the left again, and of course we'll have Ronaldo up front as well. Super chat from Matt West says, what do we think about Donny's last game? Everyone praising him and he was steady, but the goal against us, he lost his man and got drawn to the ball. Well, it's an interesting point, Matt, because I think on the whole, that Donny did play well. But I think Ollie, and from a defensive point of view, and I kind of joked about this in the match reaction in the week, that I think his coaching staff and the people that analyze the game, the performance analysts, etc., they'll point out to that, and that will be a tick in their box as to we're right not to play Donny in that sort of position behind the attacking players, because he'll leave us open like that, and we can't afford to do that. That's what they'll point to. I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong, but that's what they'll point to, because in their mind they'll think, well, Scotty wouldn't do that, or Fred wouldn't do that. He'd track his man, because again, he did leave his man. The argument can be made that Sancho and specifically Tellez got done. It's way too easy. It should not be that easy to get through 2 players. And Tellez was just, I don't know what planet he was on for certainly the first half. He did not shower himself in glory at all. Luke Shaw does not have to be worried at all about his place, because Tellez was awful, absolutely awful, especially in that first 45 minutes. So there was a multitude of errors, but yeah, Donny did not follow his man. He was not aware where his man was. He got drawn to the ball and left the spot. It was an easy pullback. And I think Ollie and his staff will look at that and they'll say, well, maybe that's why that we don't play Donny there. And they'll think about that. So when it comes to Donny, he's just not going to play. He's not going to play tomorrow. And if he does, people will go crazy. Because it'll be that much of a surprise. So I don't think Donny will play. As far as Dallo I think is near nailed on that he won't play, because he's going to be playing on Wednesday, of course, because of Wan-Bissaka is going to be suspended against Villarreal. So we know that Dallo is going to start on Wednesday in the Champions League. So Wan-Bissaka will be nailed on. When it comes to, and I don't want to get too much into a preview for Wednesday's game, because that will come here on the channel. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, so you don't miss it. But it's a big game for Dalot, of course, on Wednesday, isn't it? It's a massive game for him because he's got a real opportunity now with those big Champions League games against the likes of Villarreal, Atalanta, the stronger teams in the group. He's got a chance to show that he's really worthy and he's ready for that spot. There have been a lot of people, even in pre-season, saying that, I tell you what, Dalot should be starting more games because arguably he offers more going forward. And he's going to have an opportunity to prove that. Make no mistake, against Villarreal, if Dalot is putting in crosses for Cristiano Ronaldo and he gets an assist or he gets a couple of assists for Cristiano Ronaldo, Ollie will have a decision to make there because that whole groundswell of people going, you know what, maybe Dalot is better for Ronaldo. Maybe Dalot is better for scoring goals, creating goals, than Wan-Bissaka is. Of course, the issue with Dalot, a lot of people say, is defensively. But it'll be a big test for him and a real big opportunity for him Wednesday. But that means Wan-Bissaka is pretty much nailed on to start tomorrow. As far as Matic, again, I would love Matic to start more in the Premier League because he's the best defensive midfielder we've got. I have no doubt about that. I think we saw it in the week. There were a couple of times that his ability to dictate the tempo, ability to actually have a forward pass, whilst also breaking the play up, is very good. But Ollie just thinks, obviously, that he doesn't have the legs. I think that's it. He just thinks he doesn't have the legs, and he likes McFred. That's it. That's going to be the situation. And I mentioned about Martial. I think it's very unlikely that he'll start. He'll probably be on the bench. I don't even know if he'll come on. Last season, for those that are interested, of course, we beat Villa at 2-1 at Old Trafford. Martial actually scored, which actually does play into Martial's favour because Ollie pays attention to that. Ollie does pay attention to that kind of stuff of, he plays well. He plays well against Villa. He likes playing against Villa. So maybe that'll go into Martial's favour. Who knows? So we beat him at Old Trafford. Martial scored and a Bruno penalty. We beat him at Villa Park 3-1. Bruno, another penalty. At Greenwood and Cavani. Again, out of those names, I think Bruno will start. I think Greenwood will start. When it comes to Martial and Cavani, I think they'll be on the bench. Obviously, it's at 12:30, which has led to a lot of people going, right, 12:30, it's going to be on the telly. It's not. It's not on the TV tomorrow. The game that's on the TV at 12:30 is a massive game. It's Chelsea versus Manchester City. And one of those two teams, or maybe both of them, is going to be dropping points, which again proves why we need to win tomorrow because we need to give ourselves that advantage. We need to get ahead of things. Make teams chase us. I don't want to be chasing teams. I want teams to be chasing us. So that's, again, why it's important that we have to win tomorrow. But BT Sport are actually showing the Chelsea and Man City game, so it's actually not televised. The reason that it's been switched is because of a music concert taking place at the Old Trafford Cricket Ground on Saturday. It was actually communicated earlier this month that the Cortinas are playing at the Lancashire Cricket Club, and a request was made by Trafford Council Safety Advisory Group to move United's clash. This was supported by the Greater Manchester Police to help avoid any logistical issues relating to the two crowds. So that's why. It's because they don't want to have such a big amount of people in one place at one time. I guess it would be a situation as well from the availability of police officers as well, which is frustrating, really frustrating. I don't know when it was moved from. I'm assuming it was moved from 3 o'clock, so maybe it wasn't going to be on the TV anyway. I'm assuming. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. But imagine that. That's when you know you're a big band. Like the Cortinas are obviously big. Like they're not really. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but the Cortinas are big. You move the Premier League clash. You move the Man United game because you're playing in Manchester. Man, that's when you know you've got sway. That's when you really know you've got sway. Unbelievable. In terms of a prediction, though, I'm going to go with 3-1. I don't think Villa are going to play a low block. It must be said, Dean Smith doesn't really tend to do that. He does like to play, and he does like to have his players attack a bit, which I think actually benefits us because once the game's open, it's like when we played Leeds. If the game's open, it actually does benefit us quite a lot. So I think we're going to win 3-1. When it comes to some team news for Aston Villa as well, because of course it's not just Manchester United we're talking about here. When it comes to team news for Villa, of course Axel Tuanzebe is ineligible because he's on loan from us, so he's not going to play. This is a big one. Leon Bailey is a major doubt. He suffered a quad injury when he scored in their last game against Everton, so he came off, didn't he? He played really well against Everton as well. He's a good player. Really good player. If you play a lot of FM, you always see he's always rated very highly. Now that's computers into real life, but he's a very good player, and he would have been certainly someone to look out for had we had to play against him tomorrow. So it looks unlikely that he's going to play, which is a big plus for us. Other team news for Villa: midfielder Morgan Sanson is going to miss the trip after suffering a hamstring injury in the penalty shootout against Chelsea on Wednesday. I don't know if he was going to play anyway. Whilst their winger Trezeguet is sidelined following knee surgery in April. Of course, Ashley Ashley Young returned to Aston Villa over the summer from Inter Milan, so the possibility that the former captain for Manchester United could make an appearance. I don't know how often he's playing. How often is Ashley Young actually playing for Aston Villa? I feel like he's kind of just experienced squad player, probably transition into the coaching staff or something like that. So I doubt that we'll see an Ashley Young homecoming. We might. I don't know. Not it's really homecoming, but he was at Man United for a while, and he was captain for the club for a period of time too. So be interesting to see whether he starts or not. So that's the preview. And then finally, I do want to talk about some news briefly. There you can see. News. I want to talk about Declan Rice. There was a Declan Rice story that came out earlier on today, which I do want to get into. Let me just get it up in front of me, the news. Because it was a big story that I think a lot of people were certainly curious, shall we say, about. You can also let me know, by the way, let me know your predictions in the live chat as well. We'll get some predictions up on the screen in a second too. But this is what was said about Declan Rice this morning. This is a story from Mark Ogden from ESPN. So, track record. ESPN, obviously major outlet, but track record. Said that Manchester United scouts have been instructed to identify alternatives to Declan Rice in their search for a defensive midfielder next summer, amid concerns over his valuation and contrasting opinions within Old Trafford over his ability to significantly improve the team. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer remains an admirer of Declan Rice, but the club's recruitment team is yet to be convinced that he possesses the qualities to take the team to another level. Rice is regarded as a powerful presence in midfield with a strong defensive mindset. He has also caught the eye with his ability to break forward, but figures at Manchester United have cast doubt on whether he is quick enough with and without the ball. Also said, with West Ham expected to value Rice between 80 to 90 million, Manchester United believe an alternative can be found outside the Premier League who can be equally, if not more effective and not subject to the inflation that accompanies the fees for English players. A move for Declan Rice continues to support within Manchester United, but he is likely to be one of a number of options by the time the club make their move at the end of the season. Manchester United's plan next year is to sign a defensive midfielder as well as attempt to win the race to sign Erling Haaland. That blueprint has not been altered by the signing of Cristiano Ronaldo, which was financed outside of United's original transfer budget. So there you go, which is kind of what I'd said previously. I mentioned it, I think, on the long view that I mentioned before. What's it called now? The full view? I mentioned it before that our two targets next year. I'll get there in the end. Our two targets next year were going to be Haaland and a defensive midfielder, which is good because that's where I think we need to improve. Everyone says that we need a defensive midfielder. Erling Haaland, everyone's going to be going after because he's got the release clause. That's the situation. As far as it goes to Declan Rice, 80 to 90 million for him seems a lot. It does seem a lot, and I think that is fair that Manchester United would be saying that is just too much. That's too much for him, and I do think for the price they want to pay, I do think you can find a top quality central defence midfielder that is 60 million or something like that. Basuma, I think you could buy Basuma from Brighton. I think 60 would probably get him. It's a lot of money, still, don't get me wrong, but it's not 80 or 90 million that accompanies that. Is Declan Rice an 80 or 90 million player? Probably not. Probably not. Now, the idea of, is he going to be good enough to take Manchester United to the next level? I think that's laughable because anything is an upgrade on what we've got right now. Declan Rice is certainly an upgrade on Fred. He's certainly an upgrade on Scott McTominay, even though I think McTominay's more box-to-box than a defensive midfielder. But that's my point, is that I do find it quite laughable that some of the Manchester United hierarchy and recruitment teams are like, well, maybe he's not quick enough with the ball. Maybe he's not quick enough off the ball. It's like, who on earth? I mean, have you looked at Fred? He's quick enough with the ball. He can barely keep the ball. He can barely pass the ball. If that's your criteria, so Declan Rice would certainly be an upgrade. But there are cheaper alternatives out there. VK, for instance, says Kessie is stronger defensively and a free transfer. I think Kessie would be a great option. Chukwemini says, Chukwemini from Monaco as well. So there are certainly options out there. And I do... CJ says, United scouts actually doing their job, don't believe it. So it's interesting. It's certainly interesting. A lot of people saying... But then Yash says Rice will be good enough, will be a staple for 10 years. Look, don't get me wrong, if we could get Declan Rice for 60 million, I think that's good money. I think that's good money, and I think he's probably worth about 60. It would be a lot of money. And United are willing to spend a lot of money next year. I don't think any doubt about that. We'll probably spend, including Haaland, you're talking about 150 million, maybe a little bit more combined, what I mean. But, Declan Rice for 80 to 90 is just, that's too much. That's silly money. For me, that's silly money. And make no mistake, Declan Rice would be an unbelievable signing. But I do, you have to give the devil their due, I guess. Pun intended. You have to give the devil their due. That is too much. That certainly is too much. And there is a British tax on it. Digital Dong, tremendous name, says Ben White was 50 million though. That's the problem. I think that's what Manchester United are trying to say here, that Declan Rice is going to be expensive because there is an inflation over English players. We signed Harry Maguire for 80 million. He's our captain, but make no mistake, he's not worth 80 million, but that's because he's English. And there is an English tax on English players. That's just the situation. So I do agree with them in the sense that there might be alternatives out there that arguably are just as good as Declan Rice, but cost less. And if it's a case of we've got to sign someone for 50 or 60 to ensure that we can get Haaland, then I would take that. The only part of the article that I kind of roll my eyes at a little bit is the idea of, well, there are some people that like him, but there are some are like, is he good enough? Of course he's good enough. What have we got? What have we got right now? Like, seriously, what have we got right now? We got nothing. We got nothing in that kind of position, right? We got Matic. I'm not even including Fred, because he is nothing in that position. So what have we got? Nothing. So the idea that those people in Manchester United go, is he a game changer? Any defensive midfielder we sign that is half decent is a game changer for us because we've got nothing. That's like going, I tell you, it's like having no windows in your house and going, it's blimey, it's cold in here. And then I'm going, well, we could get windows, but is this a game-changing window? Any window will do at this point, okay? But I guess when it comes down to value, so if I'm going to stick to this window metaphor, which I am, you'd be going, those windows are just as good as that one, but they're a bit less of a price. Why you would go for the cheaper alternative? You would, because you're going, I'm not going to pay a ridiculous amount of that just because it's a British company installing the windows. That's the situation. So I think that it's a fair criticism, certainly a fair criticism to say, look, if the United feeling that Declan Rice would be between 80 or 90 probably comes from West Ham telling him, because there would have been feelers put out. Absolutely, there would have been feelers put out, because if they probably sent some feelers out to him this season, and West Ham being like, hypothetically, this isn't an offer, but if we did want to sign Declan Rice, what would that look like? How much would that look like? And either the agent or some intermediaries would probably say, look, it's going to cost you a lot of money. We're talking 80 to 90. And then went, no, we don't want it. We don't want it. We don't want that. No, we don't want that. Not a problem. So I think that's fair from Manchester United to go, you know what, maybe we should look for alternatives. But from the point of view as if to say, look, we are drawing a list at this point. We are coming up with a list of who we want to sign as a defensive midfielder next season. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing that United are going, look, we might make an offer for Rice. He is an option that we might make an offer for, but in the grand scheme of things, is it the worst thing in the world if we've got 5 or 6 players that we're looking at when it comes to next year, and we don't just put all of our eggs in the Declan Rice basket, and then we make an offer for Declan Rice, and guess what? West Ham don't want to play ball, or it's too much money, because we've seen this before. Jadon Sancho took 18 months to come to Manchester United because United just wanted Sancho, and then it came to haggling over money. Oh, they'll back down, and they never back down, and we end up getting no one. We don't want to be in that position again. So to actually have a list of 6 players and go, you know what, maybe Declan Rice doesn't work out, and we'll go, we want to sign Declan Rice, and then West Ham go, okay, 80 to 90 million. We'll go, nope, click, no, that's one, chalk it off. We've already got 5 other people we're interested in as well. They can do that job, maybe not as well, maybe better, maybe worse. You don't know. It's always a gamble when you sign players, but we know it's going to be cheaper, and also we're interested in Haaland at the same time. I think in reality, that's not the worst thing in the world, is it? That isn't the worst thing in the world. So, just to have options, it's interesting. DJ's in the chat. Big up, DJ. Says, I'm terrible in its pronunciation. Chukamini, is that how you say it? Basuma, I'd be happy with those over Rice. Spending 80 to 90 million is ridiculous. Hope you had a good birthday. Appreciate you, DJ. Be sure to follow DJ at DJ Talks _, on social media as well. That's on Twitter and Instagram, I think, as well. He's on the road to 1,000, rather. Mentioned this yesterday. I think it got retweeted from the United View Twitter account as well. So give DJ a follow. Give DJ a follow on there. He's far more like responsive than I am. I'm terrible. I'm terrible on social media. Like I'm like a post a day, maybe. DJ's very interactive, likes to get involved in conversation, great for debate. So be sure to give him a follow at DJ Talks _. So, and thank you for the birthday messages. Thank you, everyone, like I said before, for the birthday messages yesterday. I'm old now, but I did appreciate all the messages yesterday. I never knew that many people cared. So, yeah, thank you for that. I'm interested to know what you guys say as well. So Paul says there are better players than Rice out there. And there is a bit of it has divided people, I think, a bit, this one. Because when you see the headline of United are backing off Rice, you do tend to, your brain goes, all right, here we go again. It's going to be long and drawn out. But when you do look into it, you do kind of go, maybe that's right. Maybe that is right to do. Maybe that is like 80 to 90 million. That's ridiculous. That's silly money. And like I just said, it's not the worst thing. It really wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, would it? To say, you know what? I want United to have like 6 options when we're at the end of this season, when we're looking for that defence midfielder. I want them to go, okay, we're not going to go Rice. Boom. We saw with Chelsea. Chelsea did it this summer. They wanted Haaland, and Dortmund went, no, unless you're given this outrageous amount of money, but we're not selling Haaland this summer. So they went, okay, move on. They wanted Lewandowski. Bayern went, nope, not happening. They went, okay, moved on to Lukaku. It was that quick. It was literally that quick, because they had a list of people that they were looking for, and if people weren't available, they went, right, we'll move on. They can do the same thing. And for United, I want a bit of preparation. I want a bit of planning. We slag off this recruitment team for their shoddy recruitment, which I do think has improved significantly over the course of the last few years. I want them to have options, and I don't want them just to be overspending. We say this all the time, United. Harry Maguire and all those players, oh, you overspend. You're spending too much money. So I don't see it as necessarily a bad thing. I do think the whole, he's a bit slow off the ball, slow with the ball. I'm not sure about that. And is he a game changer? He would be a game changer because we've got nothing else. So a lot of people saying Kessie, which I think is an interesting one because he's going to be a free transfer. And a good player, really good player. And maybe that's something that United look at. Maybe he's on that list. I hope he's on that list. See, a lot of people are saying Brozovic or Kessie. Would be good cheap business, yeah. Ab says Chelsea attempted Rice, then West Ham raised the price tag to 90 million. Besides, Rice ain't good enough. He can't even bench Fred. I don't know about that, Ab. But certainly, look, there are absolutely other options out there, and I do agree with people that are saying that. But yes, certainly interesting. But look, guys, I've been nearly going for an hour. It's gone like that, as it always does with you guys. So I really do appreciate everyone that's tuned in today. Be sure to smash a like on the video as well. We're up to 137 likes. Let's see if we can get it to 150, just as we're wrapping things up here. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner too. Big day tomorrow. Of course, match day is always a big day. But we've got some great content coming tomorrow. Obviously, we're going to have the road trip with Flex early in the morning. It's going to be a long day for him. Really early start. But it's going to be the road trip with Flex. Match view with KG, of course. Then we're going to have the match reaction, which is going to be me and DJ. I'm assuming. I haven't spoken to DJ, but I'm assuming it's going to be me and DJ. Then we're going to have, obviously, all the fan views as well. So now, always, right before a match day is always the best time to subscribe to United View. So be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner as we're on the road to 100K. And it's rapidly going up. So it's an exciting time, very exciting time. Only 6 likes rather away from 150 likes. So be sure to smash a like on the video as well. But look, guys, I'll let you go. Have a great Friday, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Peace.